Thank you so much for joining us on the Transportation and Logistics podcast powered by Atlanta Dispatch and Humblebee Enterprises. I am very excited to be here with our brother, Jay Pelkey, CEO of AssureAssist. And before we begin, I just wanted to say that I had a chance to attend an event today that was hosted by the Atlanta Black Chambers. Essentially, we had a lunch and learn, and the recurring theme was collaboration. And, collaboration can still grow the company's revenue despite innately being competitors. And the example that was being tossed around was just like, even though iPhone and Google or whomever are competitors, the Apple iPhone requires a certain product that is manufactured by their so-called competitor. So, it is a symbiotic relationship, although they're supposed to be competitors. So, again, the theme that came up, and it makes me think about, just the industry. Freightways has definitely dropped some articles on just how the different rail lines are going to have to be much more collaborative if they want to survive in the upcoming season. So, yeah, just take that how you want to. But we do welcome our brother Jay. Jay, have you feel like you ever had to collaborate with a competitor, and if so, how did it work out for your business?
I don't know about me personally, but it's pretty smart in the freight brokering industry. Co-brokering is a very intelligent way to do business with competitors. Not double brokering, obviously, but co-brokering I see a lot of, and it's a great way to increase revenue and build relationships with so-called competitors that could be your allies.
Yeah, I hear you, man. That is kind of like a taboo. It's one of those taboo things. People would say to do co-brokering, but at the end of the day, it happens. It happens so much. A company that I probably moved at least uh, 500 loads for. I know that if they didn't have somebody within their carrier base to move the goods, they would reach out to Landstar. They would reach out to these other brokers who did have the carrier base to make sure that there were no service failures by the ultimate end customer. So it happens a lot, and so yeah, I appreciate your candid responses on that. But man, welcome to the stage. Very happy to have you here, sir. Um, you know, how did you get into logistics? Because I ask that question a lot, but how did you specifically land yourself in logistics?
Oh man, I was in real estate before that, and then the big crash happened, and I was looking for a new job, and actually went and applied with RMIS. It was probably like 18 years ago as a salesperson there, and ended up after a while working in their claims department. Then I had a lot of experience with operations, so I worked on a lot of the efficiencies to get them to their process to flow a little better. And then ended up running the company for I think 8 years, and then just had some different ideas, and they were pretty happy with the way they were doing things. So I branched off and started AssureAssist.
Okay, perfect, perfect, perfect. So like, oh man, so you've seen it from the very onset with RMIS. How do you feel like that experience prepared you for what you decided to eventually launch, which is Assure Assist My Carrier Packets?
Oh yeah, well I created the very first onboarding portal in the transportation industry, which was the RMIS solution for the onboarding. That was kind of like the prototype, and obviously made a lot of errors there and design flaws, and then I actually built truck stops onboarding solution and DATs. Kind of guided them through it, helped their developers, and had a good relationship with them. And I also managed the insurance monitoring warehouses for all of those companies as well. And there was a certain outlook that I had that they didn't. And so when I started Assure Assist, I already had an idea of the things I wanted to do differently and how I wanted to approach the industry with my product.
Oh man, well, look, you that you dropped a lot right there. You've done a lot for the industry already, my brother. So I appreciate you.
Thank
Yeah, no, my bad. Go
No,
ahead.
I said thank you.
Yeah, yes, sir. Because at the end of the day, it sounds like it's been your brainchild that has made life, my workload much easier. In my role as a dispatcher, owning a dispatch company, and even before that, working as a dispatcher for a corporation. There was so much paper. There was so many documents that I had to print off, sign, scan back and make sure they didn't get jumbled in the scan machine. You know what I mean? So, what type of paperwork? How much paperwork were you dealing with at RMIS for you to say, something has to be better? Like, what was your normal process before you built out these systems?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So, and I appreciate that because just to kind of thank you for a second. I never booked a load in my life. Never signed a bill of lading. So everything I've ever built is because of the customers. Guys like you who are very knowledgeable and want to talk things through and see how to make the industry work better. So I'd love to take credit over everything, but like I said, a lot of the stuff, like when I started doing the claims assistance service, companies would say, hey, I got this interesting cargo claim, and I would say, send over what you have. I kind of noticed that all of their carrier packet stuff was redundant. It was the same thing, maybe just worded differently, but they all had a blank W-9 in it. They all had an agreement to sign. They all had a profile page, contact page, some information about their company, references. So that's when I came to the owners at RMIS and I said, hey, there's a way to make this more efficient because fax machines being used today is just ridiculous. It's actually laughable, but that's where the transportation industry was. And I said, we can take this and build websites for our customers and they can streamline their processes and not just the paperwork, but they can validate identity better and get carriers set up quicker and protect themselves a little better than faxing back and forth and getting signatures back of signatures they've never seen before. So looking at those and started building the websites. And it was kind of just back then, all these companies that I was building these onboarding portals for, they were just looking at the big fish, the big companies that can afford to pay 5, 15, 20, $25,000 a month because they're, reallocating employees to different departments and they can get rid of that whole setup department. And I said, hey, look, that's great, but you know, there's a way you don't have to build each website and charge all kinds of money for each customer. We can, you can build a portal where customers can create their own solutions, and then they don't have to send in work orders. And you don't have to write up statement of work and charge them for it, and wait 3 months to get an agreement changed on their website, and all this stuff that was still going on even after the onboarding was built. So, I started talking to customers about it and just sitting down with them and saying, "What do you want in this? What is it? What are your payment options? How do your payment options work?" Right? Like, honestly, like I asked one customer in the very beginning, "What's a comp check?" I had no freaking clue what a comp check was. So I had to learn all that, and then I started hiring smarter people than me internally to analyze the different tools that my carrier packets can offer. And now I just have a bunch of really creative people in the company that are keep building and building and making a really strong tool that evolves every single day.
Well, awesome, man. I love it. And for those who are new to the industry, all right. what is my carrier package? Because there are this group, this podcast, we have so many different listeners of all backgrounds. Some are very, very established in transportation and logistics. Others are, tiptoeing in. Maybe they want to make a switch over. So, for those who are new to the industry, what is my carrier package, and what do you guys offer to the supply chain? Like, what are the things that you're offering to your customers?
Well, the Reader's Digest version of it is basically we provide a very affordable flat rate service based on a company's gross annual revenue. And it's affordable for anybody, even a brand new freight broker getting into the industry. And it's basically a web portal that they can send all of their carriers to that will evaluate based on their requirements. And our team helps them. We actually even have risk assessments that are industry standard, made up of panels of experts in the industry and the average of what other are 1,000 plus brokers who use my carrier packets have. And when you set up your risk assessments, your carriers that you're onboarding are evaluated based on your risk rules. And when they go on there, they're also validating their identity. So it's making sure that the carriers that you're getting ready to use are who they say they are, and they meet your company's rules and requirements for what a good carrier is. And then most of the information is pre-loaded. So when carriers onboard through your custom website, which has your logo, your color scheme, all your questions, anything you want required, anything you want optional, they go through the process, and it takes maybe, I don't know, 3 minutes to do the whole thing. Whereas back in the day, when you set up a carrier and you're faxing 15 pages of a carrier packet and they were handwriting all the information, faxing it back, and you're inputting it into your TMS system, you're looking at, on a good day, an hour. And then, obviously we have our insurance certificate database, which is the backbone of my carrier packets. So 99% of the time, the certificate's preloaded. So as soon as they complete the packet, ready to load the carrier, and it's them, and then they meet your requirements, and there's a good certificate of insurance on file. And then we monitor that carrier going forward to make sure they don't fall out of compliance. So that's basically, in a nutshell, what Assure Assist does with my carrier packets and Assure Advantage. But for more information, if you go to mycarrierpackets.com and click on schedule a demo, we do, I think, 5 demos a week for any company that wants more information. And guys that are better at presenting will be on there helping you out.
I love it, brother. I love it so much. And okay, well, I truly appreciate the service, like I said, and I think that you guys are approaching it in a way that uh, just the mom and pop uh, brokerage can appreciate. It's not that you're trying to beat them over the head to utilize your services. You understand that you guys can add some efficiencies to their operation, and it seems as though you're willing to work with whatever they can offer. You know what I mean? You said out of a percentage, based on how much they were making, is what you're going to be charging. And just me as a young entrepreneur, I can appreciate the care and the understanding that comes with that. For you, I'm gonna rewind just back just a little bit. How did you build the confidence to say, you know what, I can do this? Did you have an IT background? How did you know that you could build these systems out? Like, how did that? I don't know. How did you pluck that idea out?
Yeah, well, I started with RMIS and I built the first one, so I had that going for me, and I had the opportunity to work on what they had as a foundation. So I knew what needed to be done, and so just hiring, like I said, smarter people than me, especially with development, and just making sure they can interpret what I'm trying to tell them,
Right.
and just sticking with them. That was really all it was. I don't know if it's a confidence thing. I mean, starting your own company is, you either got to be really ballsy or really stupid, and I might be both. I don't know, but it definitely worked out really well. and it was very terrifying. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and you know what? It's weird because before I started Assure Assist, all the companies that like just did insurance certificate monitoring, it was like the going rate was like 40 cents per carrier per month, or 30 cents on a good day, right?
Woo.
So yeah, so if you had 10,000 carriers, you're paying $3,000 a month for monitoring without an onboarding solution, just to track insurance certificates, whether they got it or not. So for me to come out and say, "Hey, I'm going to give you onboarding and monitoring for a couple $100 a month," where other companies are charging a couple thousand per month. The biggest issue I had is too good to be true. I had a customer that waited 6 months, stayed with a competitor because they're like, "We just don't understand how you're providing this service for so cheap, and we don't know if you're going to be around, charging that amount." And I was like, "Well, dude, I could charge more." I mean, like, I just wanted to be better than that. I didn't want to. I wanted to charge a really reasonable, fair rate to help freight brokers, because honestly, anybody can, you know, smoke and mirrors, like smile, talk you into doing something. But if you really take care of companies, the industry will not allow you to fail. They'll want you to succeed. And I think that's one of the biggest keys to the success with my carrier packets is doing everybody right. I don't think there's one company out there that would say, you know, something bad about my carrier packets, because we just listen to everything we can. We keep trying to build, and we don't gouge our customers for prices, and really take care of everybody. Can't please everybody, but
Yeah. No, I hear you. That's a great point. I mean, I think, that's what they would call a gym, just to make sure that if it's not smoke and mirrors, if your intent is to truly be there to support those within the industry, those in the industry are not going to allow you to fail. I like that so much, because this it takes a village. I mean, it takes a community. It takes a whole entire industry to build up these startup companies. So I took heed to that. I mean, you saying it, it kind of validated the way that I've been moving. So I appreciate you for mentioning it. And for your company, like, I guess from your background, why do you feel like insurance monitoring and carrier onboarding go hand in hand?
so those are the two most important things when you set up a carrier that takes the longest, right? So just, I mean, you just think about it like old school, right? You fax a piece of paper. Just one page of a fax takes a while, but you were sending 15 pages through. They're taking it out of that fax machine, literally picking up a pencil and handwriting in the same stuff that they wrote 20 times this week for other freight brokers and shippers, and then they're taking all of that paper and they're putting it back in the fax machine and faxing it back. All that is usually done with a sample certificate from that carrier. And then, of course, you can't use that sample certificate from the carrier because it could be altered or fraudulent, or just it was canceled and they don't even know it, and they just have a copy of it that they throw in with their packets. So you really need to wait to get that packet in to get that sample certificate, and then you have to fax or call or email a request to that insurance agent on that certificate that you got from the carrier, and request another certificate. And sometimes, that's a 20-30 minute job. Other times, you got one person, Flo, in the office at the insurance agent that does it. She's gone for 2 hours, right? Or they're gone for the day. So you can't move that load that night without taking the exposure of moving a load with a carrier that doesn't have insurance, which is terrifying. Keeps a lot of owners up at night. Or you wait until the next morning and you could lose the load to a competitor. So getting a carrier set up quickly through my carrier packets in 3 minutes instead of an hour, faxing and emailing back and forth, and having a preloaded certificate ready to roll to validate insurance. just saves hours and hours. So if you don't have a service like My Carrier Packet, or these other ones, you really can't compete with the other companies that are using it because they're just flying past you. In this industry, 15 minutes is too long, right? And that's how long it just takes to fax back and forth a carrier packet.
Agreed. Agreed, man. I hear you. It used to take forever. And as a, like I said, owning Atlanta Dispatch, me talking on the phone after seeing a load posted on the load board, it's really a matter of seconds. So if it's something that another carrier is able to complete the onboarding process faster than me, sometimes it's just the difference between that. Even do I have the ability to sign something electronically, or do I have to wait until I get back to my office to complete that process? That is literally the difference between booking a high paying load for a client and me continuously needing to search for the next load. So now I hear you with the efficiencies that are being built. There's something that I've noticed though with with me going through the process whenever I get the onboard link from a broker, and I'm about to get onboarded and I see that it's a My Carrier Packet link. It's interesting. Why do you guys use the DOT number to search for the carrier versus the MC number? Is that arbitrary or was that done for a reason?
Oh, that's a really good question. Okay, so DOT everybody has, right?
Uh,
Um, well, I think it's every state now. Maybe not Florida, but every state requires a US DOT number. Not every carrier has an MC number. So it's like intrastate carriers. Like if you move freight in California and you're not going, to Arizona, Nevada, whatever, you just need a US DOT number and your California intrastate number. Same with Texas. So uh, doing it by MC number, there could also be one DOT with multiple MC numbers, but there's no MC number with multiple DOT numbers. So DOT numbers should be king. That should rule everything, and then secondary should be the MC number because it's optional, or there could be multiple of them.
okay. In the world of unique identifiers are king. All right, you just boiled it down for me. Okay, the DOT is like that. Okay, I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Obviously, it comes when it comes to my world, the majority of carriers, small fleets, and owner operators that are needing services, dispatch services, they do have that MC number, which is
Mhm.
something that most dispatchers they tend to kind of just commit to memory after a while. You know that you're going to
Mhm.
be booking a load for that customer, but you never think about memorizing the DOT
The
number. So
DOT, yeah.
so
Yeah.
anytime, go ahead.
No, yeah, no, I get it. I know it was very awkward. We got a lot of pushback from that. I was very adamant, like this is the right way to do it. And they
Yeah,
refused MC numbers too, right? That's why they had to add. I think it used to be 6 digits, and now it can be 7 or 8 digits for the MC number.
right.
So it's chaotic with the MC number.
No, I feel it, man. Okay, well, cool. No, I just wanted to ask just from my personal experience. And how have things changed with you, and maybe even the way that safeguard things, you protect things as there's a ramp up in independent dispatch services. Like, so for you to protect your clients who are the brokers, and just how does the ramp up in independent dispatch services affect your business in the way that you guys are positioning things?
Okay, so that's an awesome lead in because it's dispatchers are independent dispatchers is interesting. Like when I first built my carrier packets, there's something on there that says, "Hey, do you have a dispatcher?" If you do, you put their name and their phone number, right, or their email address. And then there's, do you use the dispatching service? And you put it in. But what we found is the dispatchers like do everything for a carrier. And when I think of a dispatcher, I think of taxi services, right? Like using they're dispatching for each all of their drivers, right? Or their vehicles. But that's a carrier in the commercial industry,
Mm-hmm.
right? Carriers are they have their own vehicles. So you're not really a carrier. And you're not a broker because you don't go outside of your carriers that work for you. And your
Mm-hmm.
carriers really need you because they want to be moving freight and they're an owner operator. They're not very computer savvy sometimes. They don't want to do all the admin shit that you can take care of that you're an expert in. So it makes
Mm-hmm.
a lot of sense. But on the flip side of that is unlike you, who obviously has a lot of integrity of what he's doing and a lot of respect for the industry, and you can tell you have your stuff together. There are guys out there that, well, I don't have a carrier that I can use this for, so I'm going to broker it out, right? Or they're not even the dispatcher for that guy. So there's the whole thing of identity validation with dispatchers. Like, how do you know that they really are the dispatcher for that carrier? Like, as a carrier, because they're filed with the DOT and they have their DOT number and they're registered. But dispatchers don't have any of that stuff. So it makes it tricky and it turns people off because technically you can't sign an agreement, a W-9 for a company unless you're a president or a principal for that company, right? Technically. So there's that. And then there's also the identity part, making sure you're going to dispatch that load to the carrier that you have, because some of the dispatchers will have a bunch of owner ops, and some of their guys will have a bad safety rating, so they can't use the carrier they were going to use, so they use the other guy. But your agreement that you signed was with the other company and that other MC number, and now you loaded a carrier that doesn't meet that customer's risk assessments. So there is a lot of exposure that companies have with using a dispatching service. And so to me, that screams opportunity. Like, how do we, number one, validate the dispatcher's relationship to that carrier, right? So dispatcher says, "Hey, I'm filling out a packet. We're his dispatcher. How do I prove that?" Right? That's one thing. Then the other thing is how do you know that that dispatcher is going to use that carrier? That's another thing. So there's a lot of things that we can do inside my carrier packets to tell people, hey, this is a dispatching service that's certified, reliable in my carrier packets, whether it be a rating system or a portal like we do with factoring companies, right? They don't have a place to go to register either, like the DOT or anything, but we know those factoring companies work with those carriers. So one factoring company has like 1,000, carriers in our database, and do the same thing with dispatchers. And then that gives our customers confidence that the dispatching person that they're using really is going to use that carrier and they really do work for that carrier. Does that make sense?
Oh, it definitely does. I followed you, brother, and I'm just here to support in whatever way I can to be that vessel to, make sure that you guys feel as though the product that you're offering to your clients is A1 and it takes into account all those nuances. It sounds like you definitely know the roadmap of how how it plays out when a dispatcher is legit, when a dispatcher might be considering shadow brokering or rebrokering a load. And so I'm happy that the conversation is being had, especially since in November the FMCSA legitimized independent dispatch services,
Hmm.
just like you said. Carriers need dispatchers, especially when they're small fleet small fleet owners or owner operators that are on the road and don't have the ability to, consult a load board for their next opportunity. So dispatchers are here to stay. It's just making sure that everybody is comfortable, with the entirety of the process. Um, so yeah, like I said,
I totally agree. Yeah.
I'm just happy to bring attention to this subject, especially since it's so new. And for you guys, are there any other areas that you feel like you got to focus on limiting risk that might, are there any other services that you guys are able to protect your customers or limit the risk and exposures that they might encounter?
Like for, as far as dispatcher, just in general.
Just in general. I mean, if you have any other thing with
Yeah.
dispatchers, cool, but just in general.
Yeah, I mean, like we do, we link up right with the IRS. So, I don't know if you know this, but there it's like $250 fine for every incorrect W-9. Like if the EIN number doesn't match the legal name for a carrier on a W-9, a broker could be fined up to $250 for each one. So, we actually validate the EIN and legal name of every carrier when they fill out a packet. So
I didn't
that's
know that. No, I didn't know that. That's juice for me.
Yeah, it's super helpful because they only have to do it once, right? So we have a guy that onboards with one company and he fills out his EIN number, he gets it right. Now, every time he onboards with someone else, he's good to go, right? They can have confidence that that carrier's uh, tin matching was performed and their accounting department doesn't have to do it. It's also a good way to validate identity as well. So we have tin matching that we do. We also link up with the TIA watchdog. So when a carrier is being qualified, they look to see if the carrier's had any recent TIA watchdog alerts. We also have our in-house rating system, which is think of it like kind of like Netflix, right? Like carrier moves a little with them. They're late to the pickup. They hold the freight hostage for more of more money or whatever. There's a million things that they get mad about. So in my carrier packets, our customers can rate the carriers with a 5-star rating, and you can set your requirements. So if a bunch of people give this guy a 2-star rating, you can set it to where it'll make a manager review to get them set up. We also have block carriers, so you can block them from getting set up. Like a lot of people won't want to onboard a carrier, so they'll just block them. Right? They'll find out he's been double brokering or whatever the issue is, so he'll block them so they don't set up. So another company does it, and the another company can say, "Hey, if this guy's been blocked by multiple companies, I don't even want to use it, or I want to do a manager review." So we have those as well. It's just you can build and build and build with my carrier packets your different rules. At some point, uh, you're knocking all your carriers out, which you don't want to do. There's there's a tug of war between risk assessment and sales. You got to make money, so you can't be too picky. But you can go with as much as you want in my carrier packets, and once you set those rules and those compliance deals, uh, it runs itself. So uh, everything's instant. You don't have to, like before. You'd have to go to like 4 different government websites to look at probably 20 different things like safety ratings and inspections and uh, just a ton of authority status. And then you go get the certificate and you have to eyeball probably 15 pieces of information there, like expiration dates and limits of coverage and blah, blah, blah. So once you set up all your rules with my carrier packets, it's done within milliseconds. And if you need an override to your managers, it's done without any involvement by the customer. So a lot of protection, very efficient.
Yes, sir. Okay. And with that TIA watchdog, would you say that's similar to Carrier 411?
Yes, actually, there may be a story where Carrier 411 was a knockoff of that at some point. I don't remember the exact story, or I don't want to say it, one or the other. But yeah, Carrier Carrier 411. I think they have more reports because anybody can sign up for a Carrier 411 account, which could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. A lot more reviews, but maybe unjust reviews because maybe it's a competitor, just trying to blast another company, or some broker, a fly-by-night broker, got mad at a carrier who didn't do anything wrong, and they're just a shady broker, right? So you get a lot of that kind of crap on there. Uh, but there is a lot of them. So if you see a bunch of them, eventually it has to be true, right? But then TIA Watchdog is more credible people reporting because these aren't fly by night brokers. They're going to conferences. They're in it for the long run. They're just deep into the transportation industry. So each one could be better than the other. I personally would prefer Watchdog just because it weeds out like the bad brokers that could be reporting them.
Okay, yeah. To be honest, man, this is my first time hearing of them, and I do know how easily a false report can be, like a freight guard report, can be so misleading, so incorrect,
Yep. Yep.
and So I've heard those horror stories and what it would do for a carrier or vice versa for a broker. Um, so just having that information makes me very interested in talking to these folks at TIA Watchdog just to see what they got going on. So I'll probably reach out to them.
Yeah. I'll introduce you. They're good people.
Okay, yeah.
I go to their conferences regularly. They actually, they got courses in there. They got resources like attorneys and TMS systems and risk management tools like my carrier packets and exhibits and fun places to go to. I think the last one was like, was it Nashville or something cool like that? But it's a great resource to have.
If I'm not tripping, you mean TIA, as in the leading, one of the governing bodies for brokers?
Transportation Intermediary Association.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I
yeah,
didn't know they had a product called Watchdog. Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Oh.
and that's part of your membership. You get Watchdog for free. They got, I mean, they even have broker contracts, and they have like new broker stuff too that they help new brokers get set up with. So really cool tools, and it'd be really good to start talking to them about getting dispatching services more involved too,
Oh yeah.
because you're not going away, right?
Not going away. And many, I mean, for the folks who are probably three and four generations, back, they understand how brokers were once, not as well received in the
Yeah,
industry.
yeah,
So, it's just another cycle of, hey, let's all just get along.
right,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Well, I
Yes.
mean, it makes sense. Like, well, I mean, there is absolutely nothing wrong with a dispatcher. It's totally helpful. And it makes the whole thing more efficient because you know what you're doing. The guy driving the truck, he knows how to drive the truck, right? Like, uh, it's better for them. They don't want to hire someone full time to do what you could do for them. So, brokers dealing with you is probably way better. They just need that confidence and that trust that the dispatching service they're working with is a good one. You know what I mean? And I think my carrier package has some plans here in the future. Maybe we can pick your brain a little bit and work together to come up with something to get that trust and that confidence.
Oh, I love that, brother. I certainly would. And you know, so you're deep in entrepreneurship at this time. You're nearly 11 years into it. I know that it was super scary when you first started, but
Yeah.
for the young entrepreneur, the person that's thinking about taking that leap of faith,
Yeah.
do you have anything that you would say to them?
Oh man, so you know how when your buddy's waiting for his wife to walk down the aisle and you're like, dude, don't do it, don't do it. No, I'm just kidding. It's not like that. No, okay. So to tell you the truth, here's the story. So I took everything I had, all my savings, everything I got, and I put it towards the company. And no matter what, nothing let that company fail. I can tell you a million personal financial issues that I had trying to build the business, and everything I needed to do to, 16 hours a day, trying to get it off the ground. And the first 3 years was extremely, extremely tough. But if you hold on to it long enough and you believe in it, um, then what you're going to find is that your cars are going to get nicer, your houses are getting nicer. it's gonna start taking care of you. It's like kind of like a baby, you know. At first, it's an infant, it doesn't know how to eat on its own, it can't walk, it can't crawl, and then it starts learning how to do all that stuff, and then after a while, it's carrying you around, and uh, and it just takes a lot of time. And if you make sure it stays alive and you really think it'll work, it will work. I promise you that.
Well, I believe in that. I believe that 100%, brother, and I appreciate you for sharing those wise words. To
Oh,
be
sorry.
honest, man,
And treat people really good.
and treat people really
Wow.
good. And why is that important to you?
Integrity, man. Like, if you want, if you want people to believe in your service and buy things from you, you need to treat them good. And for some people, like for me, it's pretty natural, but in other people, not so natural. So if you end up being shady, you're gonna be gone at some point. That problem fixes itself at some point. I don't know. Some would argue. I just say be good to people.
Right, right. That's the golden rule, right?
Yeah,
Do
I
unto
think so.
others what you want them to do unto you.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Well, look, man. I think this is a great session. I feel like definitely been able to highlight my carrier package, Assure Assist. Was there anything that you guys have coming up in the near future that maybe we didn't get a chance to talk about that you wanted to use the time right now to talk about?
Oh, let's save that one. Let's do another one of these here in the near future, and then we'll talk about some of that stuff.
Okay.
I got I
Well,
got I got a lot of people. Like if you notice, you probably don't see it, but I got a lot of copycats, and I come out with something or I start talking about something, and then I'll go to a competitor and I'll see that they're building the same stuff that
oh, gotcha.
something not
Yeah, keep it
about.
close.
Yeah, man, that's another thing to success. Is you got something good, you got to be careful until you're ready to, or really close. You don't want to give away too much.
No, I feel you. I feel you 100%. Okay, and that's another gem from an entrepreneur. So extremely grateful for all the support that we've gotten here on the Transportation and Logistics Clubhouse. With so much support that we turned this bad boy into a podcast. Again, Jay, man, if there's anything I can ever do to help, I'm here. So just let me know. And did you have any closing remarks?
No, man, it's great talking to you, Jerry. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no doubt, brother, no doubt. Well, look, everybody, tune in next week as we partner with Freightwave Sonar Team. Monday morning, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. We're going to tell you where you should position your trucks to take advantage of the market. And yeah, I guess next week, I'll mention who we're talking to next week on Monday. Uh, but I appreciate everybody. Jay, you have a blessed day, brother.
All right, you too. Bye bye.
Thanks, peace.